Okay, so let's go over the syntax for the style tag and what goes inside. The first thing I have over here is the element. Oops, this is a picture. This is the HTML element, right? We created a paragraph tag, put some content in it. That's it. Here I have a comment, just the rest of your HTML file. And on that same HTML file, remember, we're embedding our style tag in our HTML file, but eventually it'll be in an external CSS file. Don't worry about that for now. Pretty much you're done with your HTML, you're done with all your tags, and at the bottom we're going to do this new tag called the style tag. See, it's a regular one, just like the P tag, where there's an opening tag, and then the slash connoting the end of that tag. But it's going to take a lot of values. It's going to take this here, which we haven't seen too much of yet, or we haven't gone in depth into yet. That is the CSS rule, which we're going to talk about in the next slide. But let's just nail this down real quick. When doing in-file CSS styles, we need to embed them in a style tag. Then we can write CSS as we normally would. So here's the beginning, and here's the end. And forget about this. We're going to talk about this next. But this is the next tag that you should learn. It's the style tag. Whenever you want to embed styles directly to your HTML file, use the style tag and then write your CSS inside. Start and using this element. But let's actually get into what CSS actually is, which will be the contents of that style tag. Here is the syntax for a CSS rule. The very first thing we're going to do, like in the previous slide, is write an HTML tag. Then in the CSS, right, in this case we're embedding it in the style, but also could be in an external file, we write the following. We have the selector right here, which is the P tag. We're pretty much telling the computer, this is a conversation with the computer. Hey, computer, I want you to keep in mind all of the P tags. I'm going to tell you something to do, and I want you to do them to every P tag on the file. So you write your selector here. And then 2 brackets. So when you first type them out, they are together. Actually, let's see if I can show you real quick. Okay, so I write my P tag right there. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Perfect. So I write my P tag. So I am referring to this P tag. Right? And then, like we said, we're going to create our style tag. And then we're done with the style tag. Then we can write just straight CSS. So inside of our style tag, we are going to reference this P tag up here. And we're going to hit the bracket. Now, depending on your code editor, it could either come up like this, or it could come up like this, or in the case of some really helpful ones, already embedded like this. So let me just show you how I do it. I reference my selector, and when I hit the brackets, they come up like this with the cursor right in the middle. That's very nice. So what I do is I hit enter 2 times. And now I'm inside, perfectly indented, and I can do whatever I want. Now if you're writing in a text editor that isn't very helpful, you'll see something like this. Then you just want to type the very next one, and then the same thing, you go back 1 to give yourself room. So this is the area where your code is going to go, the style tag that you're going to write, specific to the P tag. Okay? So what did we have over here? We had the color red. Now we can actually go back to the slide. But I just wanted to show you that writing it depends on each one of these features, and when you first start off it looks like this, and you kind of have to give yourself some room on the inside. So let's go back and take a look. We have our selector, we have our opening bracket, our closing bracket, and inside we have something called the property and a value. And here's another thing you need to memorize. Color is among many properties that you can always just look up, and value are always depending on that property. For example, color has a possible value of any color you could think of. So there's lots for this one. There aren't lots for all of them, but for this one there's lots because there's lots of colors. But what you want to memorize is the particular syntactic parts of it, right? So here, we're memorizing that this is a style tag. We already know how to create a p tag. We know that we have to reference our p tag, and we know about our brackets. This is our property, which we're going to get used to. But here's what you should memorize. It's property, colon, value, semicolon. That's it. This property will change, this value will change, but this, and this won't change. So it will serve your best interest to memorize the CSS syntax. And that's all we're doing here. We're just talking about the syntax. One last time before we close out this video. In order to write a CSS rule, you need a selector and then a rule. In our case, we have our selector, we have our brackets, and on the inside we have our property, which in this case is color, a colon, a value of red, and a semicolon. Memorize this slide and you'll be in excellent shape. Let's move on to the next lesson.